All right. So today we are going to take a deep dive into the world of heat exchangers.
Heat exchangers.
With KRN Heat Exchanger and Refrigeration Limited.
Yeah.
We've got their Q3 FY25 earnings call transcript.
It's hot off the press.
Oh, it is a gold mine.
It is, yeah.
So much in here.
It's not just numbers.
Right.
This is a peek behind the curtain
Yes.
of their ambitions, the industry's trajectory, and honestly, some global forces at play.
Absolutely. So much to unpack.
Yeah.
Let's break it down first things first.
Okay.
What does KRN do?
What do they do?
Like, what's their main thing?
Condenser and evaporator coils.
Uh-huh.
That's their bread and butter.
Yeah, keeping our ACs and fridges running.
You got it.
You know.
But they didn't stay small.
Right.
They shifted gears.
Uh-huh.
They went after those big B2B customers.
They went big.
They went big.
Yeah.
And they expanded into export markets.
Smart.
Yeah, it really boosted their margins.
It's a good move, Dutchman, with everything going on globally.
It is.
But speaking of big moves,
Okay.
did you see this expansion they're doing in Rajasthan?
Yeah, over 300 crore rupees.
That's a heat exchanger mega factory.
It's a bold statement.
It is.
I mean, a 6-fold increase in production capacity.
Wow.
That's huge.
I mean, they must really think the demand for heat exchangers is going to skyrocket.
Right. Or it's a gamble.
Maybe a little of both, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just scaling up.
Right.
They're branching out, too.
They are.
KRN's dipping their toes into manufacturing bar and plate heat exchangers.
New product line.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're not just any heat exchangers. They're targeting high growth sectors.
Okay.
Like electric locomotives, off-road vehicles.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Industrial cooling?
It's like they're anticipating the needs of these industries.
Yeah.
Before they even materialize.
Yeah. And they're already making moves there.
They are.
They got a development order from an Indian locomotive manufacturer.
Yeah, good sign.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, very good sign.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right.
KRN is facing some headwinds, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Their EBITDA margins took a dip.
Yeah, that raised in eyebrows.
A little bit.
It did.
I mean, they're blaming increased employee costs. Makes sense. Hiring for the new facility.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that whole ripple effect of China removing export subsidies on raw material prices.
Yeah, how much is this a temporary blip?
Right.
And how much is this a sign of deeper issues?
Yeah, that's the question.
With pricing, profitability.
The million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can't ignore the elephant in the room.
What's that?
That reliance on a few major clients for KRN.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if one of those relationships sours?
Well, they are trying to diversify.
Okay.
Which is good.
Yeah, good for long-term stability.
Yeah, but building those relationships takes time.
It does take time.
And in the meantime, they're walking a bit of a tightrope.
Yeah, and then you got all this global trade uncertainty.
The U.S., right?
Especially the U.S.
They can really throw a wrench in the works.
Oh, absolutely.
For anyone with global ambitions, KRN wants to boost their exports from 20% to over 50%.
Wow.
That's a big jump.
Huge jump.
Ambitious?
Yeah. Is it achievable?
I don't know.
With all these roadblocks?
So many roadblocks.
Okay, let's pause.
Right.
Take stock. We've covered a lot.
We have.
KRN's core business,
Uh-huh.
bold expansion plans, diversification into new markets and products,
Righty.
and, some very real risks they're facing.
Yeah, paints a picture of a company at a crossroads,
It does.
aiming for growth,
Yeah.
but in this complex, ever-changing landscape.
It's a tough one.
It is.
So what are you thinking so far?
You know...
You're leaning towards optimism or caution?
Mm-hmm. Hold on to those thoughts.
Okay.
As we continue our deep dive into KRN Heat Exchanger and Refrigeration Limited.
All right.
In part 2, we'll dig even deeper into their expansion plans.
Uh-huh. The
competitive landscape.
Okay.
And what it all means for their long-term prospects.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Welcome back.
So before we get too deep in the financials,
yeah,
let's talk more about that goal of over 50% export contribution.
Ambitious.
That's a big jump.
It is, right? Especially with how global trade is right now.
Yeah. I mean, that would make them basically an export-driven company.
Yeah.
What's the thinking there?
Well, they're all about that China plus one strategy.
Right.
So many companies want to diversify their supply chains.
Yeah, move away from China.
Away from China, and KRN sees India as a prime alternative.
Yeah, makes sense.
Especially with those government initiatives like the PLI.
Right, the Production Linked Incentive Scheme.
If they get that.
That could be huge.
Huge. It could really supercharge their growth.
Okay, so export markets are a big part of the plan.
Big part.
But let's get back to those bar and plate heat exchangers.
Okay.
Targeting sectors like electric locomotives and industrial cooling.
Smart move.
Seems like it.
But it's not just about picking the right sectors.
No.
It's how deeply involved they are in the testing and development phase with clients.
Oh, interesting.
They're not just churning out products.
Yeah.
They're working hand in hand
Okay.
to create custom solutions.
So it's a real partnership.
It is.
Okay.
They're ensuring those products meet very specific needs.
That's a smart move in a competitive market.
Absolutely. It's all about quality
Yeah.
and customer satisfaction.
It's a long-term play for sure.
It is.
But, no business is without risk.
That's true.
We talked about the dip in the EBITDA margins.
Right.
Employee costs are only part of the story.
Yeah. What about those raw material prices?
Right. They've been hit hard by China removing those export subsidies
It really shows you how vulnerable companies can be.
to those global supply chains.
Yeah, global supply chain shops.
It seems like KRN is trying to pass those increased costs on to customers.
They are. The question is, how much pricing power do they really have?
Right. And how will their competitors react?
Good question.
Speaking of competition, how does KRN stack up?
Well, their management seems confident,
Okay.
investing heavily in new facilities and tech.
That should boost their production?
Yeah, capacity and efficiency.
Okay.
Plus, they're really emphasizing quality
Uh-huh.
and those customer relationships.
Right. And they've got that Indian advantage we talked about.
Right, being an alternative to China.
But let's be real. The market is crowded
It is.
with some big players.
Big players.
KRN's going to have to hustle to stay
They
ahead
have to innovate. They have to adapt.
constantly.
Constantly. It's not just about price anymore.
Right.
They have to prove they have the best quality, the best customization.
The best reliability.
Exactly. It's high stakes.
So big risks, big ambition.
Big risks, big ambitions.
Let's talk numbers.
Okay.
Their revenue growth has been impressive,
It has.
but those margins are fluctuating.
Yeah, a bit of a red flag.
How do we make sense of all this?
Well, it's a mixed bag, right?
Yeah.
Increased costs are eating into profitability,
Mhm.
but that shift to larger clients and export markets
Right.
has helped their margins in the past.
Okay, so we'll see how that all plays out.
We'll see how those competing forces play out.
What about the government incentives?
The PLI is a big if.
Yeah.
It would be a huge boost, but no guarantees.
So even without the PLI, is there any kind of financial safety net?
Well, they're eligible for incentives under the Rajasthan Investment Promotion Scheme.
Okay.
If they get that approval, it could provide some steady benefits
For how long?
over the next 10 years.
Okay.
It wouldn't be as big as the PLI, but still significant.
Okay, so multiple paths to potential success.
Yeah, but a lot of ifs and maybes.
It sounds like KRN's fate is really tied to these larger trends,
It is.
shaping the global manufacturing landscape.
They're betting on India
Uh-huh.
as a manufacturing powerhouse,
Right.
the growing demand for heat
It's
exchanger,
across all sorts of industries.
and their ability to outmaneuver the competition.
It's a bold gamble.
It is.
Only time will tell as it pays off.
Yeah.
But stepping back, what does KRN's story tell us about the heat exchanger market as a whole?
Well, one thing's for sure, it's not a sleepy industry.
No.
KRN's growth and expansion plans suggest a market on the move.
So it's heating up
It's heating up
in more ways than one.
in more ways than one.
And it sounds like KRN is trying to position itself right at the front.
They're not just riding the wave, they're trying to be the wave.
Okay, so will they succeed?
Well, it depends
What are
what
problems?
positions, the broader economy, geopolitics. It's complex.
It's a lot.
It is.
All right, well, we've delved deep into KRN.
Deep.
Their business, growth strategies, competition, even the macro trends.
We've covered a lot.
We've examined their financials, explored government incentives, weighed the risks and opportunities.
All of it.
What are your key takeaways so far?
You know, what stands out as the most crucial insights about KRN and the heat exchanger market?
Hold on to those thoughts. Because we're going into the final part of our deep dive.
All right.
We'll synthesize everything we've learned,
Uh-huh.
analyze potential outcomes for KRN, and explore what it all means for the industry. All right, welcome back to the final part
The final part.
of our deep dive into KRN Heat Exchanger and Refrigeration Limited.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have
Dissected their business.
scrutinized those financials.
Explored the forces shaping their destiny.
So now, the big question,
The big question.
what does the future hold?
Yeah, that's the fascinating part.
It is.
No easy answers.
No,
But KRN, they have a lot going for them.
they do.
They're in a growing market. They're making bold moves to expand, diversify,
Yeah.
and they're really trying to be a key player in India's rise in manufacturing.
They're really going for it.
Yeah, they've got that drive.
But, we've talked about it.
We have.
They've got some hurdles in their path.
Yeah, competition is fierce.
It is.
Raw material prices, those are volatile.
Uh,
And global trade, well,
Unpredictable.
Unpredictable is an understatement.
That's a good way to put it.
And then you've got those execution risks.
Right.
Those expansion plans
Yeah.
need to be managed perfectly.
They do. They got to keep winning over new clients,
Exactly.
but also keep those existing relationships happy.
It's a balancing act.
It is.
And they have to stay ahead of the innovation curve.
Right, because the industry's changing so quickly.
It is.
So it really is a tightrope walk.
Ambition and execution all tied together.
Yeah, it's almost like they're juggling chainsaws while riding a unicycle.
Okay, now that's a visual.
Right. Impressive if they pull it off.
Very impressive.
But if they don't,
Yeah, not pretty.
not pretty at all.
But it really highlights the point.
Yeah.
KRN's reach could exceed its grasp.
Yeah, what if those margins keep shrinking?
What if a major client leaves?
Right, what if those government incentives fall through?
So many what ifs.
Those are the things that keep CEOs up at night.
Oh, yeah.
But imagine if they do execute everything perfectly.
Right.
That could be a global powerhouse.
Riding that wave of India's manufacturing boom.
So it's high risk, high reward.
It is.
Classic.
And that's what makes this so interesting.
It really does.
It's not just about KRN.
No.
It's about the challenges and opportunities businesses face in this crazy world.
Absolutely. In a globalized, rapidly changing world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive,
Wrap it up.
let's leave our listeners with a final thought.
A final thought to ponder.
KRN's making a big bet on the future.
They are.
Do you think their gamble will pay off?
What factors will determine their success or failure?
That's the question.
There's no crystal ball,
No?
but you can analyze the information,
Uh-huh.
weigh the risks and opportunities.
And understand the bigger picture.
Exactly. Then you can form your own opinion.
That's what the deep dive is all about.
It is.
Equipping you
With the knowledge and insight
to navigate the
of
complexities,
the business world.
to go forth, explore further,
Explore, learn,
and keep diving deep.
keep diving.